Fear, a new January horror movie that has had no promotion, and I don't think anybody has even heard of this movie. And if they have heard about this movie, they're killing it on Letterboxd with 1-star ratings right now. Let's talk about this movie. A much needed getaway and a celebration weekend turns into a nightmare due to the contagious airborne threat. The film stars Tyler Abron, Jessica Allain, Mezzy Atwood, Andrew Bachelor, Terrence Jenkins, and T.I., and was directed by Deon Taylor, who has done films like Fatale, Black and Blue, The Intruder, Traffic, Chain Letter, and Meet the Blacks. I checked out Fear on opening night, and I was the only one in the theater, not to my surprise, as this film has gotten no promotion. I watched the trailer, I believe, once for this film because I never actually saw it being advertised in the theater, and I didn't know anybody in this film other than T.I. I've never heard of any of the other actors and actresses. I am very familiar with this director, Deon Taylor. Most of his movies that I've seen have not been very good, and I didn't know that he was the director going into this film. A lot of times when I do go watch films, I don't look up who the director is, and after I watched this film, it made a lot of sense why this film was really bad. Really trying to think of positives for this film, I'm really struggling to think of one thing that I really liked about this film. One moment that I can say that was pretty funny was the fact that I was in the theater by myself. There was a point in this film where some kills are actually happening, and I had some senior citizens walk in, and they sat down. It was very apparent they didn't know that they were in the wrong movie. They obviously were early for the next showing for whatever movie was coming out. And when they went to sit down, they watched the movie for about 10 minutes, and these kills are happening on screen. And I just hear the old lady say, "Oh, hell no, we're not watching this." And they literally walked down the stairs and walked out. That was probably the funniest part about this movie, which didn't directly happen on screen. That's how boring this movie was. One of the problems with this movie is the pacing itself. It takes 65 minutes before we get any kills on screen, and the movie is 100 minutes roughly. The characters themselves, they don't have any personalities. I can't even remember any of the names of the characters in this film because they do such a poor job of actually kind of distinguishing them as characters. None of them separate themselves from each of each other, so you can't get into any of the characters. Now, one thing I didn't like is the fact that they try to relay this airborne virus to be COVID. I don't want to watch movies with a bunch of COVID crap. Then it tries to mix this airborne threat, or what they want to cover up basically as COVID, and they try to mix it with these witches, which we never see witches on screen. And it just never mixes together. There's some really bad CGI in this. There's a point in this film where this, I guess you want to call them a witch. I don't know. They don't look like a witch. And they have these vines coming out, and they look, CGI and shit. And it looks really bad. And I honestly couldn't tell you what is going on because it's just not explained very well. I don't need everything spoon-fed to me, but I just don't think the airborne threat that was projected in this film or trying to be presented in this film, it doesn't really ever work. They also have a lot of horror tropes in this film. They use the whole dream sequence. That's been done 100 times. They use this mirror sequence where you have the mirror having an evil reflection. That's been done many of times. And they also do one of the dumbest things in the beginning of the film. It's about 15-20 minutes in the film. There's a part where they're actually by this campfire and they're talking about their fears and what actually scares them. And they literally tell all their fears right there on the campfire. So you already know the fate of the characters. And it's just pointless at that point. Why would you do that? Why would you give all that away? Plotline, it's really all over the place, and it just doesn't connect. And the fact that the characters suck themselves, and there's nothing scary in this film. I can't say that anything really scared me at all in this film. There's maybe a couple jump scares, I would say, at best. And they're so minor that they really wouldn't scare you. They have the flickering lights trope. You've seen that done tons of times where you have the hallway and the lights are flickering. They do that a lot in this film. And it also just doesn't look good camera work wise. And whatever camera they use, they don't do a really good job with that lighting, and they don't really do a good job with certain ways that they film this. I just didn't like how the story came together, and it was just a really boring film. I really had a problem with the pacing in this film. I didn't like that it took 65 minutes before we get any kills on screen. And a lot of the kills, they're not creative. They're kills that you've seen before. There is some bloody moments in the film, which I guess makes the film a R movie, but really nothing else. And it's just a really bad movie. You should definitely skip this film. It's not worth your time. You're not going to get anything out of it. If you really want to watch this film, I would wait to streaming. I wouldn't waste any money on it. If you can, don't waste money on it. I don't think it's going to be in theaters long, and most people don't know about it anyway, so I don't see a lot of people watching this. I would give a score of this film a 1 out of 5. What's really interesting is on IMDb, it has a 4.2 out of 10, and there's only 4 user reviews, which is pretty bad. No one definitely is checking out this film. And also on Rotten Tomatoes, I believe there's 15 reviews, and it has a score of a 15% right now. So this film, it's doing really bad, and nobody really knows about it, and it's going to be pretty much a forgotten kind of film and eventually thrown on streaming. But let me know in the comments, did you check out this film? Are you looking to check out this film? Thank you guys for watching this review, and I will see you guys on my next review.